Oh, there goes Schumann bot, guys. Let's go. Let's go, guys. Let's get something in the chat for Schumann bot. A thumbs up or something. Can you guys still not hear me? Is there a problem here? Do I need to crank it to the max? How loud do I need to go? Should I put auto tune on too? S Woods, how is it now? Turn up your computer. How do I sound? I sound fine. Alright, we're gonna keep going then. I can hear the ambient sounds of the room you're in. Yeah, I have the window open and like a fan going, and this mic is pretty sensitive. But it I don't know, it's kinda cool, right? It's like Foley. Like, right? It's Foley. Anyway. So yeah, that's kind of like the D region. The D region is where the Schumann resonance signal is, and we were kind of talking about how it has this diurnal cycle. The daily variation actually occurs in the D region, so when these X-rays blast the ionosphere in the D region. Earth gets blasted in the D now and then by the sun. But anyway. The solar storms and that sort of thing kind of produce a variation in the Schumann resonance signal, and as we know, the Schumann resonance signal affects our health. So essentially, I kind of want to talk about the brain now. Can I make a new one without deleting this? Nope, so let's save this as... This is great. Incredibly scientific. Ignore that folder, guys. You didn't see anything. You didn't see anything. Okay, human brain. This is fun. The streams might follow this format, guys. We might just be in MS Paint in the future. But anyway, so the brain uses a range of... The brain uses a range of frequency patterns monitored by an EEG, and I've talked about this before, how the range kind of exists in the same range as the Schumann resonance, which is the 0 to 45 hertz range. Oh god, it's so hard to write with a mouse. Oh man, that looks... Oh, jeez. The 0 to 45 hertz range. The 0 to 45 hertz range. And essentially, the brain has what's called right, so we refer to the Schumann resonance as an ELF wave, an ELF wave, because it's an extremely low frequency. The brain just happens to have a similar system. It's what's known as an extremely low frequency, or ELF, oscillating ion system. Mainly using calcium ions to control the neurotransmitters in the brain. It's also been shown through research that external ELF signals, Schumann resonance, possibly Wi-Fi and that sort of thing. Wi-Fi is kind of in a higher range than ELF, but it's right around there. It can induce, it can alter these calcium ions and affect brain tissue. And so essentially, this stable synchronization of the brain, um, as I talked about before, has kind of led to the ability for us to think and reason. And what I also found out is, and I've kind of speculated this before, but there's some research on it, and I kind of have to read into it a bit more. Basically, the brain has electromagnetic transmitters and receivers in their neurons, and how this works is essentially what is called a phase-locked loop system, which is the same thing as an FM radio receiver uses. They also use phase-locked loop systems to receive audio, and essentially there's this kind of non-linear resonant interaction with the Schumann resonance signal constantly. So like basically what that means is, like I said before, you can kind of turn the dial on your radio and get like a sort of different signals and that sort of thing, but um, you can fall out of sync with the Schumann resonance signal, and this is kind of a scientific way of saying it's important to ground yourself, and it's kind of like the tree huggers were always right. I mean, if you go out and literally hug a tree with like your bare feet, you'll start to sync up with that frequency. I mean, if you're able to relax and meditate and that sort of thing, it's all in your mind, all is mind, all is mental, that sort of thing. But um, that's really it. I thought that was pretty interesting. I'm still going to write this all up, put it on the website again. I will stream that too, so you guys can kind of give me your input and kind of get a behind the scenes look. And I'm all about transparency and stuff, and I think that stuff is kind of fun. So we can just hang out, talk, do some web dev. I'll do that. I mean, I want to do it tomorrow. If not, I'll do it next weekend. I've been programming a lot lately because never mind. But anyway, yeah, so I mean, not only the sun though, like imagine, like we kind of, oh boy, here we go again. We kind of have so we have the sun, right? And then let's draw. Oh, no. Okay, so we have the sun, and then we have like. All right, let's draw it kind of big. Sorry, guys, I haven't used paint since I was like 7 years old. But anyway, so we have we have the sun. We have the sun, and then don't do it. We have the sun, and then we have Mercury, and then we have oh my god, and then we have I'm just gonna draw them in random positions, so this isn't gonna be very accurate. Hold on. Oh, this is terrible. Let's start over, guys. I'll do this really quick, I promise. Okay, so the solar system, we have the sun, we have... Oh, I should download I'm going to do that right now. This might be a long stream, guys. I'm kind of just hanging out right now, so... What is it called? Solar System Simulator? And there's another one like Space Engine. The Sky Live, is that it? Universe Sandbox, that's what it is. Do you have to pay money for this? Guys, do you have to pay... Ooh, $30. Be right back. Let me get my wallet out.
225 2110 8105 0096 2251 2110 8105 0096 2251.
Okay, we'll do that another time. I found this website. It's going to work for now. Yeah, I know the planets. I just had to draw them all. I found this website that was cool. So essentially my point is, like, we have the sun here. We know the sun gives off these rays, whatever. They affect the Earth. But the thing is that not only does the Earth vibrate at this frequency, but Venus, Mercury, Mars, they all vibrate at their own frequency, right? Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Have you ever seen, you should check out the infrared image of Saturn. I think I've shown this before in a previous stream. Yeah, so this is essentially Saturn's Saturn's real ring, its real reach. I believe the Earth is somewhat down here or something within this ring. I mean, it's 7.4 million miles across. And I'm pretty sure that it covers our entire solar system. So my point is, if Saturn has such a large ring and such a large effect, it's giving off this infrared energy essentially from on such a large scale. It's kind of like the solar system is in this symphony of vibration, and it's like a medley. It's a medley. I mean, I don't know. I think if we could measure this sort of thing and get accurate measurements of it, I'm not sure how, then maybe we could start seeing like patterns in astrology and like certain aspects, and like when the sun is in certain positions, it gives off these certain EMF frequencies, or may affect the Earth in this way. And I don't know. Ohio, Carrie. Wait, someone said 8 minutes ago that the stream is blacked out. Can you guys see me? Is everything okay with the stream? You guys can hear me. You guys can see the stream. You can't see me, but you can at least see my screen, right? We're good. Well, I actually had some content today, which is great. Let's just go back into the classic Q&A format. What did you guys think? Anyone miss anything? You need me to recap anything? Well, I'll take a break, and you guys figure that out. Auntie Doodles wants to know, are the frequencies of other planets known? Yes, I believe the Voyager mission, the spacecraft that was sent out, then measured the frequency of the planets, and then they made like a little album, even kind of slowing down and just sampling those frequencies that were recorded. It's pretty interesting. You should check it out. I think it's called like the Symphony of the Planets or something like that. I'd be willing to bet this is the foundation of astrology. Traits are assigned to planets and signs, energies. I wonder if frequency and vibration define them. Don't mind me, I'm a newbie. Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think they just didn't have the information that we have now, and essentially the language that we have now to describe it in the terms that we can describe it now, and even visualize it in the terms that we can see it now. And oh yeah, I guess I will ramble on for the close here about the singularity. And this is kind of instruments such as the monitoring station in Russia that can measure the Schumann resonance are kind of the start of what is eventually going to be full artificial intelligence, and the singularity. Like, suppose you could build a machine that can synchronize itself to the Schumann resonance. Its processing cycle, its clock cycle, it's based on the Schumann resonance. It's possible that it could have the same sort of thoughts that we have. Like, the problem that we have with artificial intelligence these days is that they calculate things almost too fast. Certain operations are faster than the human brain. Usually like sequential and like mathematical operations and those sort of things, not necessarily like creative functionings. I think it's like the limitations of the human brain that allow us to kind of come up with these creative solutions and develop things such as language and mathematics and writing and those sort of things, because we have limitations of memory and limitations of processing. And so, as I was saying, to kind of make these things visible and kind of make these things, I guess, more conscious, more of a part of our everyday reality, is that we have to push. Oh, I want to leak a video to you guys too. I'm going to upload it today. I wanted to upload it earlier, but what I'm trying to say is that thought about the video and I lost my train of thought. Once we start measuring these things, and we get computers to start measuring these things and kind of implementing them into. So what I'm trying to explain is like a more of a right brain approach to computer science, which is inherently left brain, and incredibly left brain in the way that we use it now. Basically, we could measure these things and kind of use it to analyze the current situation, the current environment that we're in. We can also use it to predict events. A lot of people have seemingly been using it to predict earthquakes, or have seemed to have found some sort of correlation between the Schumann resonance and earthquakes, which makes sense. I'm not even sure how the plates move. I'm sure it's just gravity and like natural movement, but I would come to bet that electromagnetism has something to do with it. It just makes sense. The thing is, a lot of people like Ray Kurzweil and those kind of guys that are kind of out there like that, they think the singularity is going to happen overnight, probably as soon as 2030 or 2040. I think we have time. I think we're going to be at the point to where we have the potentiality to create a singularity by 2030, 2040, sure. But we still need the human engineering aspect. We still need that, again, that right brain kind of approach. Look at things, like a more creative approach to things. And we have to kind of start considering, as Tesla says, like the things that we can't see, vibration and that sort of thing. Wow, I've only been live for an hour, huh? Should we keep going? It seems kind of dead now. I think a lot of people thought it was over after I took that little break. Suspicious observers. I'll check that out. Yeah, that seems pretty cool. I'll end with this video and then yeah, it was a good stream. I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow. Definitely next Sunday. And again, you did not see that folder. I have this somewhere weird. Twitter things. It's called like Twitter stuff.
Recontextualization. It's where you start with a frame and go, oh, I get it. I've been looking at a picture. That's what a Renaissance is. Look at the original Renaissance. What were the main inventions? Perspective painting, circumnavigating the globe, calculus, and the printing press. Each one of these things, we're changing our relationship to dimensions. Instead of the printing press, of course, we have the computer and the internet, which is now no longer, each of these ones in our Renaissance are no longer about having a personal perspective on what's out there, but being able to actually generate your own point of view, to generate your own thing, to publish your own ideas. The first Renaissance moved people from readers to deconstructors. The second Renaissance, the one we're in now, turns us from deconstructors into authors, into programmers. And that's why programmers, real programmers, are the most dangerous people. Now, not everyone wants to know how to pop the hood. And that's fine. Not everyone needs to know how their car works. They can call a mechanic. But they need to know that it does work. They need to know that someone is making choices about it. I think that's the measure of how alive and conscious a person is how much they know is arbitrary and how autonomous they are, how conscious they can be about the choices they make.
I thought that was a great video. I'm gonna upload that to Twitter. The screen's black. That's not good. I kind of want to watch most of this video though, because it's really good. I might have deleted it. If I deleted it, then you guys are saved. You don't have to sit through this video. But if I didn't, you're screwed. We're gonna watch it. It's not looking good.
Erogenous. No, just kidding. Human autonomous zones.
Okay, hey.
I don't even. Can
Lock
I
pickers,
even
please keep it
share
down.
This? I can share this.
Continue the demos. It's just.
I have the M word on. Am I gonna get DM'd? Is someone gonna DM me?
Okay, thanks for having me. First off, you should know that I mean, hackers, both as a concept and as a population, have been particularly inspiring to me in the books I write. Pretty much everything I write has been inspired in one way or another by what hackers do, have done, or will continue to do. Can you keep it down a little bit? It's just hard. It's just. I can be a good speaker.
I should probably end the stream.
I
and
gotta
then
put
start
on
a
my.
new one
Get
if we're gonna just hang
enough
out.
Ritalin to not get distracted.
I don't even want
Even the
to,
most
though.
recent
I'm
book
gonna end the stream soon.
I've just finished, which is about
I'm sorry,
Judaism.
guys.
It's called Nothing Sacred. It's essentially about the same thing. It's about how to
Does the
hack
chat not
into
interact?
Judaism and looking at
Usually
what
the chat's pretty
what is the
alive,
source code of
but
Judaism
I
and
have
how
no
can
idea,
one
like,
how can one get
Today's
in?
weird. I haven't streamed like for the past couple of weeks, so it's like
Sorry, we don't mean to be rude.
I haven't seen even like a lot of the usual
keep
people.
focus. I think hackers' roles have changed.
Usually
in
the
the,
chat's
in the
pretty alive,
20 or
though.
so years that,
We
that
have a good
I've been
time in
aware
here.
of their existence.
Usually a lot
And I
more
think it's
viewers
important
too,
that,
but
that we take stock of how the role has
who knows?
changed. If anything, it's become much more important.
We're just rolling with
now
it, though. We're rolling
it
with the
was
punches,
before.
you know. You just got to keep going.
Back in the internet's colonial period, the role of the hackers
How
was
long is this?
revolutionary
47
in
minutes?
the really standard sense of the word, and it was against
Do I
government
have
power
47
or
minutes?
against corporate power, and hacker actions really
don't
tended
know.
to
I'm gonna treat the
undermine
liking
one
now.
or the other of those institutions. Now I believe, and I truly believe this, that hackers are the agents of consciousness itself in a world where autonomy is becoming increasingly outlawed. So it's not, I don't see it as a battle against any particular institution anymore, but a battle against sleep. I think that we've been through a very interesting time in the last 20 years, and a lot of people have had the opportunity to wake up, whether it's been through psychedelic drugs or through new media or through new ideas. And I think now that people are very consciously and intentionally going back to sleep. And there are a few people that are deciding to stay awake. And the question is, what are we going to do while they're all sleeping? How are we going to keep them from going to sleep? Or what are we going to program into their dreams so that the next time they wake up, they might choose to stay awake for a little bit longer? As I see it, and not just me, we are living in a story. You know, we are human beings, and we create stories in order to understand the reality that we live in. That's a slightly dark fact. The thing that makes it a little bit lighter, as far as I'm concerned, is that at least everyone in this room knows that we are writing those stories ourselves. Right? We are the people writing those stories. The trick with living in a world of stories is that there's a lot of different stories out there, and those stories are competing for believers. Right? And these aren't just religious stories. These are stories ranging from capitalism to communism to Christianity to McDonald'sism. And stories compete in two ways. They compete either through their content, which is what we could call the what of a story, and they compete through the medium or through the technology, the tools through which the story is being told. Now, if you have exclusive access to the how of stories, to the technology through which stories are being told or perpetrated, then you've got pretty much exclusive access and exclusive hold over the stories that people are going to believe about what's going on in the world around them. And that's tricky. I mean, since the beginning of time, storytellers have had exclusive access to a technology that has mystified other
Calco,
people.
what is
Whether
a
it's the
non-Inu
epic
token? What
storyteller
is an
back in
Inu
ancient Greece
token?
coming into a town, nobody knew how this guy could remember 40,000 lines of the Iliad in order to recite it for people. And people were, ooh, wow, look at him. If he can learn those 40,000 lines, then he must be telling the truth in some way. Or the newscaster who used to be able to pipe into your home with this magical ability of television. In the old days, when I was growing up, Walter Cronkite used to actually end his broadcasts by saying, and that's the way it is. And people would nod, right, that's the way it is. Now, why could he say that? It's because he had exclusive control over this box that no one knew how it worked. You know, they don't call this stuff on television programming coincidentally, right? They're not programming the television set. They're not programming the schedule. They are programming the viewer. You choose which channel and then accept the programming. So there are these two ways in which we get programmed. One is through the content of the story, which is what Aristotle
crypto
figured out a
make
long time ago,
sense
right? You create a
given the
character the audience likes, put the character into a bunch of danger, and then come up with a solution.
Level
right?
event.
Whether it's Arnold Schwarzenegger at the end of the movie getting the big ray gun, or whether it's the businessman
What
at the end
event?
of the commercial getting a new Excedrin extra strength.
No one told me about it.
We have to
I'm
swallow
not
the
prepared.
storyteller's pill to get out of the tension of that story. It's what you could call the male orgasm curve of narrative, right? Tension, 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 climax, sleep, right? But this only works if you have a captive audience. And the way you get your captive audience, the way you entertain them, literally entertain, hold within, is through a technology, is through a different kind of storytelling medium. The best example that I know of when I came to be aware of how this worked was in the worst, well, the second to worst of the Star Wars movies, Star Wars 3, Return of the Jedi. There's this great moment where Luke and Hans, they get stuck on that little moon with the Ewoks.
Did you just say
and
Return of the
Ewoks tie
Jedi is
them
the
up and
second worst?
make them prisoner. And they let Princess Leia walk around, but they're
No,
all tied
dude.
up. And how do they get out? C-3PO and R2-D2 tell a story
definitely
to all
5,
the little
4,
Ewoks. Right?
7.
C-3PO speaks their language and he's talking about
5, 4,
Master
7,
Luke and Great Hans. And
2,
R2-D2 is
3,
shooting
1.
these holographic images of the Millennium Falcon fighting against the Death Star and all that. And all the little Ewoks are, "Whoa." You know, they're
Empire
watching this
Strikes Back
story.
is amazing.
And they so fall for this story, right, with great content through C-3PO and great technology through R2-D2, that they not only release Hans and Luke, but they fight a war on their behalf against the Empire. And Ewoks
It would
die
take something
in this war, right? They get shoved against things. You see,
Amazing, like
and what I thought in the movie as I
preposterous,
watched that was, what would have happened if Darth Vader had gotten down to that moon first and told his story with his technology? Ewoks would have fought for him. It actually, you know, and
I don't think we're
if
going
you think about it
extinct
later
soon.
when you're stoned, it goes to the heart of the problem in the whole
we
Star
were,
Wars movies.
we wouldn't know. It would just come out
That's
of
another
nowhere.
story.
It is.
So people who want to control the
blindly.
stories that we live by and are successful at it actually control our reality. You know, what is the simple programming and the how is the magic of the telling. It's when you have an exclusive technology. It's why, you know, I do these kinds of talks and things, and people are upset when I don't have a PowerPoint presentation to show. Do you remember there was a time back in like the 70s or the 80s when if you had a PowerPoint presentation, it actually made people believe what you had to say more? Now, can you imagine how people in this room would react to PowerPoint as a technology? Oh, the things I'm saying are in text on a screen. Haha. I must be
Guys,
right.
I should have made a PowerPoint for today, huh?
Well,
would've
television
been
has this
amazing, right?
storytelling monopoly down to a true
There'd
science
probably been like
that's studied
chat
in
would probably been a little more
advertising
active
agencies
if I
and
made a
marketing
if I
agencies
made a
and
PowerPoint
movie
or something.
studios, down to this perfect 28
I
second
think MS
programming
Paint
vehicle
was pretty
called
good
the
though.
commercial. And they help to lock down the story by which we live by.
MS
By
Paint
we,
is
I mean mostly
legendary, you
Americans,
know?
because we really are the TV culture. For me, the beauty of interactivity, the beauty of hacker culture, was that it began to break the spell of captive programming. It did it in both ways, by breaking down the story, by breaking up the stories that we were being told, and more importantly, by demystifying the technology through which the stories were being told. Right? And this is first I'm just talking about in the very small world of media and storytelling.
I just want to say that that's what he just mentioned there, kind of demystifying the stories that are being told. That's kind of like the mission of not only most truth seekers, but sort of what we do here at Hermeticus is what we're trying to do is take occultism and kind of de-occult it. I mean, there's nothing evil or weird about occultism. Occult simply means hidden. What we're trying to do is illuminate it, reveal it, and kind of decode this esoteric ancient knowledge and update it, put it into modern terms. A lot of what philosophy is about is just kind of updating language and generating a better language, just constantly reiterating over your language and then improving language, better describing things, and coming up with new terms to describe things, and just building better concepts. And kind of what I wanted to mention before about the singularity is that why we need to measure things like the Schumann resonance and hopefully constant real-time updates of inaccurate updates of other planets and solar storms and that sort of thing is that we have to start building these abstract computer models for these natural systems so that we can simulate them and that we can measure them in a programmatic way, like through an API or something like that. And coronavirus is really, I mean, the recent events have really messed with things. So I would like to visit a university and discuss with them about sharing data and sharing the Schumann data, and hopefully collaborating with other universities and bringing this data together to build a public database and a public API that is open to public access, and we can start moving towards a more open research kind of designed in the backing of the open source movement.
And the 3 steps through which this happened were the remote control, the joysticks, and the computer keyboard and mouse. Right? The remote control allowed people to deconstruct the content of media. So now if a kid is watching that 28-second commercial, being brought up the inclined plane of tension, going to have to swallow whatever pill the advertiser has at 26 seconds into the commercial, what can he do?
Even worse than the TV remote is downloaded media, DVDs, videotape, that sort of thing doesn't have the same deconstructive effect. I mean, you have to go to the store, you have to shell out money for it still, and now you can get anything on demand through Netflix or anything like that, or even torrent it.
Click away. My father would have to take the popcorn off his lap, pull up the lazy boy chair, walk up to the television set, and turn the dial, which is probably 15 or 20 calories of human effort to go do that act, right? Versus like 6 calories of tension before he gets to the end of the commercial. He'll take the tension. Kid with a remote control, 0.0001 calories of effort, and he's gone. If you watch a kid with a remote or watch yourself with a remote, we are not clicking away because we're bored with the programming. We're clicking away because we know someone is about to put us in a state of tension. Someone who we do not trust is going to fuck with us, so boom, we're gone. So a kid with a remote control is deconstructing the content of television. The next great interactive device, this is really before home computing, was the joystick. If you think back, if you're old enough, to the first video game you ever played, it was probably Pong. Right now, those of us for whom Pong was the first video game we ever saw, that was like the Kennedy assassination in terms of remembering where you were and what you were doing the first time you saw it. Now, why was that such a magical event? Is it because you were thinking, wow, I love table tennis. This is a terrific simulation of ping pong, which is going to be useful in case we have to, fight the Chinese again in the Olympics with ping pong, and I don't have room in my apartment for this thing. What a good simulation. No, it wasn't that at all. It was, look, there's a white square. I can move it up and down on the screen. If you remember when you played that game, it was like, yeah, ba-boom, ba-boom. But when was the fun part was when the ball would go out and you'd wait for the game to reset. People would just go like this with the white thing, trying to make like a white rectangle, if you could do it fast enough, out of the white square. That was the fun of it, was moving pixels. That's revolution.
It's time to help people customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
Fellas, are you still powdering your balls? You know you don't need to, right? There's no need.
This is Pager. He's a 9-year-old macaque who had a Neuralink placed in each side of his brain about 6 weeks ago. If you look carefully, you can see that the fur on his head hasn't quite fully grown back yet. He's learned to interact with a computer for a tasty banana smoothie delivered through a straw. As he's playing this game, we are wirelessly streaming, in real time, the firing rates from thousands of neurons to a computer. Using these data, we calibrate the decoder by mathematically modeling the relationship between patterns of neural activity and the different joystick movements they produce. After only a few minutes of calibration, we can use the output from the decoder to move the cursor instead of the joystick. Pager still moves the joystick out of habit, but as you can see, it's unplugged. He's controlling the cursor entirely with decoded neural activity. One of the things the Neuralinks allow Pager to do is to play his favorite video game, Pong. To control his paddle on the right side of the screen, Pager simply thinks about moving his hand up or down.
revolution, right? So the sacred turf of Walter Cronkite is now ours. We can move the pixels on the screen. So just as the remote control deconstructed the content of television, the joystick demystified the technology of television. Then along with the VCR, which turned it into an asynchronous medium instead of synchronous, and the camcorder, the pixel was demystified. Then finally, the computer mouse and the keyboard, well, when connected through a modem, turns what had been a receive-only monitor into a portal. So a kid growing up with a computer in the house no longer sees the television as the
Imagine
receive-only
if we can do
box,
that
but
with the
as
human
another
mind
one of
and the
those boxes
brain.
that,
Change it for something
well,
that's
it's basically
receive only
arbitrary, whether
to
you're deciding to express yourself through it or receive
something that's
someone
read
else's
and
ideas
write.
from it.
And it's possible that
And it broke the
psychedelics
whole
like
thing open. This was
make
a
that
big
possible.
deal.
But who knows?
You know, I was lucky enough to write about it in the early 90s. I got called into boardrooms of very scared companies. What are we going to do? Oh no, oh no. Mainstream media was very upset about this for a bunch of reasons. You know, we were getting our information from alternative sources and all that. We were spending our money differently. But worst for them, the story had been broken. We were now willing to deconstruct their stories, demystify the technologies through which it was being transmitted, and finally, DIY, do our own stories. Start to write our own stories and participate collectively in the creation of a narrative that we write instead of William Randolph Hearst or God or the Pope or Bush. It's scary. So what did they do? Well, I don't know if I want to go to the evil part yet. I'm a little more happy first. The DIY culture, and this was really 1988 when it really started for me, FidoNet. Is it people old enough for that? There's no, I mean, whatever they do to the internet, the yucky people, if they take it back, we can still go back and do FidoNet. That's the thing. It'll be fine. And I'm sure there's faster, better ways to do it. But just everyone calling each other, from 12 to 1, let them all quickly call each other. We'll be fine. I mean, I'm fine. Asynchronous is fast enough. It really is. That's another thing. But it broke the whole thing open. There was shareware, remember? Freeware. People, we all know, I'm sure you've all heard this here and all know this. There hasn't been a serious software innovation since that hasn't been through shareware. I mean, everything that's being sold now, whether it's, every streaming piece of media is just see you, see me, every email program.
AWS is like all built on Linux, which is
actually
not necessarily
and
shareware, but
self-sponsored technology.
open source
But
software.
we got a lot of different cultural
insane.
events happening because of the breakdown of the story.
Entire internet
DIY,
runs on Linux.
shareware,
Jeez.
the popularization of chaos math and new physics, rave culture, fantasy role-playing games, extreme sports, true original micro brands, the open source movement. These were and are all results of the crackdown, the breakdown of the overarching narrative that we've used in America, the capitalist narrative. Our media space also changed from a top-down system that respected only the law of gravity, right? Whatever Rupert Murdoch decides at the top of a glass building and decides to trickle it down to the public, now there's feedback and iteration in the media. And the media starts to look more like an emergent system with all sorts of little high leverage points, remote high leverage points all over it. Whether it's, Rodney King getting beaten by cops in Los Angeles, and because it's on a camcorder tape, it feeds through the whole system and leads to rioting in 12 U.S. cities, or one little group of hackers that brings down Yahoo 2 years ago, which was, to me,
Or
one
a
of the most
pipeline.
important hacks that's yet happened.
Things are getting crazy, guys. It's a crazy world we're in.
Crack. Well, yeah, it's as a subset of hack. Right, a crack is a hack, but a hack's not a crack, necessarily. Even television had to change from great authoritarian Aristotelian narratives to these weird cut-and-paste shows that had very different kinds of rewards. The Simpsons is not about, for example, whether Bart will get out of danger or whether Homer will get out of the donut factory before he dies. Right? The Simpsons, the moments of reward in The Simpsons are the moments of recognition.
Hell yeah, Michelle.
where
Shout
you
out to the
recognize,
80s.
Oh, this is a satire of
I wish I was
Hitchcock.
there.
Oh, this is a satire of that commercial. It's not about
I
this.
was in a
it's about,
coma
aha, it's these openings, these connections.
for 10
very,
years.
very different style of drama. And what is it for?
79
it's for
to
a population that is now
91.
attempting to do pattern recognition in a chaotic system in which they are living rather than trying to accept and digest stories that they're being spoon-fed. It's a very different energy. We also had Beavis and Butthead was what? Media theory. These were two people deconstructing MTV videos for us so that we wouldn't respond to them in the same way. Right? Liv Tyler's tits come through the screen. If you're alone, you go, ooh, Liv Tyler's tits. If you're with Beavis and Butthead, what do you hear? Beavis goes, ah, nice tits, ha ha. And you've been punished for having had that reaction. Right? Read Bertolt Brecht. He was the guy that talked about it. It's called the alienation effect, where the screen becomes the screen within the screen and you don't look at the story the same way. That's why they took rock videos off MTV, because these two kids deconstructed them all. Mystery Science Theater, same thing. It's about having little robots help you identify the patterns in your media space. Finally, South Park, which is what? It's basically a demystification of the animation process. It's like, don't worry, we're not doing any tricks here. This is really, really primitive, so now you can watch our story again, because nobody trusts the media space. So during this great, chaotic, wonderful DIY, shareware, universal revolution, who was it that we saw as the enemy? The government. Why? Because they cast themselves as the enemy. Operation Sun Devil. Do you guys remember that from back? Oh my God. I mean, yeah. Operation Sun Devil, the export restrictions, the Computer Decency Act. Government set itself up as the enemy to DIY, demystified, deconstructed culture. And we sicked ourselves on them and pretty much repressed government. We got them out of the way. Whether it was by using, terrific, wonderful blowhards like John Barlow and the EFF, or whether it was we were attacking them,
It's
we
a,
got government down. All these great
A
hackers
talk
became
by
libertarians
Doug
and everything. No,
Rushkoff
government
called
sucks, no government.
Human
Well, what did we find
Autonomous
out?
Agents
When you repress
during
government,
the
business
Hope
comes
Hackers
up.
for Planet
That's
Earth
what
conference.
government and business are like fungus and bacteria.
H2K2, I think it's like 2002. Yeah, 2002.
They need
It's right up there. Or can you,
you
even
need
see that?
both to
It's
stay
probably
in
gonna black screen. Hold
balance,
on.
right? So we took the antibiotics and got rid of the bacteria and the fungus came, right? So business ended up being the real enemy. What were they saying about all this? They were saying, well, any family that seems to have an internet connection in their house is watching 9 hours less television every week.
You can't see it, but
Uh-oh.
I'll post the
What
link
does
in
that mean?
chat.
Money, gelt. So they got upset. It had to be stopped. This had to be stopped. This DIY, demystification, deconstructed culture must be stopped before it gets out of control. So what did they do? Start anti-internet media. Time's first internet cover that I could find was cyber porn. Was this little baby looking at a computer screen. And the Atlanta Olympics, remember when that bomb went off? What did they call it? An internet-style bomb. Yeah. There was all the first newscasts about this bomb, the nail bomb that went off in Atlanta. They called it an internet-style bomb. Go back, look at your look at the original news media sourcing on there. And so many kids found out about internet-style bombs from those newscasts. 2 kids in New Jersey actually blew something up in their school. And they said, oh, did you find out about this on the internet? They said, no, actually, we found out about it on the news and then went on the internet. Stories about dangerous hackers going to invade your privacy, right? Time Warner and Quest and TRW, they're the only ones that are supposed to have the information on you, right? Not hackers. It had nothing to do about people losing their privacy, but losing their privacy to different people. So the effects of the remote control, the joystick and the mouse had to be undone. And they were very consciously undone by people who actually acted as if they were technology advocates. That was the darkest part of the whole wired libertarian corporate episode, was that they acted like they were techno-utopians. They acted like they liked technology, but they didn't. They liked money. They saw money as the operating system under technology. And that's a very dangerous view to have of the world. So they had to undo the remote, the joystick, and the mouse. How did they undo the remote control? Any kid clicking on his TV, what
That's
does he
awesome,
got?
Auntie. Do
He's
whatever
got
you can
attention
to
deficit
encourage
disorder.
it. I mean, it's the
This
future.
is a disease. He can't pay attention. It's not that he won't, it's that he can't. So what are we going to do? Let's drug him so he can watch better attention, so he can pay better attention to the world around him. In the same year that Wired announced we're living in an attention economy, remember that term? attention economy with eyeball hours and sticky websites because the attention economy is limited, where internet real estate is infinite. Look at how much the prescriptions for Ritalin went up in that same year. How do you get more attention out of the same number of people? Drug them. So they undid the effects, the deconstructing effects of the remote control by labeling disenfranchisement, by labeling resistance as a disease.
Oh, that's what I said on the last stream. The last stream I couldn't remember what we were going to do on the next stream, and that was going to be watch Psychedelic Salon. Listen to some Terrence McKenna.
Well, look at Windows 98
I just
for
remember
one, or Windows 95.
A very similar
each
thing.
new interface, each new public interface for the regular people, right? Each new computer interface is increasingly opaque. Right? It distances you further and further from the actual workings of the machine. That's the object of the game. The World Wide Web itself, I mean, come on. Compare the World Wide Web to the internet. There's a lot of people that think the World Wide Web is the internet. They don't know. They don't know that there was this, they don't know IRC ever existed, for example, or Usenet. They don't, and nothing against pictures online, nothing against video online, but a text-only internet is a level playing field. Right? A designed interactive space, the more opaque it is, the less of a level playing field it is, the more you are the client to someone else's server. And finally, this DIY.
It's even worse now with the cloud.
Right?
Most people don't even have
had to be undone. And how was that undone?
possession of their own data
business came
sitting on
along
someone
and
else's
said,
server somewhere.
The important thing is not that people are talking to each other. The big thing, content is king. That's what they decided, that the internet was about information. So instead of calling this a communications revolution, which is what it is, the building of a telecommunications infrastructure through which people can talk to one another, they turned it into an information age. Because publishers have these vast storehouses of information. And what can you do with information? You can buy it and sell it. So everyone thought, okay, now we're going to have these magazines online, and people are going to subscribe, and we're going to make all this money selling data. I so don't care about data. You know, data is, data. It's data. People is something real. So they were going to sell data. Well, that didn't work. So, okay, they're going to sell products instead. So they decided, no, it's e-commerce. It's about people buying and selling things online to one another. Well, that didn't work either, did it? So then they decided, no, it's about investing. Right? So the internet became about e-trade. Right? That was going to be the internet's killer app, through which people would use the internet to invest money in what? In internet companies. That's really what was going on. That's a pure pyramid scheme. You know, that's what going back to Judaism, that's what they teach in the Bible. People who build pyramids are slaves. But it became the new story. It became the new overarching story of the internet, right? That a 22-year-old kid comes up with an idea, an angel investor comes down at the next level and gives him money, then you find Salman, Smith Barney or Goldman Sachs to come in, then you find qualified investors, then you find less qualified investors, then you go public, IPO, which means what? These people have done an exit strategy. Right? That's what an exit strategy is. It's the carpetbag for these people to get out before the public can get in. And now everybody's paying the price. So finally that crashed, as anything will. And when that crashed, what did people say about the internet? Well, now the internet's over, right? It crashed. As I see it, the internet really just fought off another attack, right? In the early 90s, it had to fight off the government attack. And now business grew like fungus on this beautiful, pristine network known as the internet. Business came and tried to force it into submission. But because the internet is basically social, the internet is a culture like yogurt is a culture. It's a natural living thing. It fought that thing off. It shrugged it off, like the earth will shrug off humanity if we don't watch ourselves. It shrugged off business, and now it's back. This is a golden time on the internet. It's a great time. They're running. And look what they built while they were there. I mean, we've got better bandwidth. We've got cheaper toys. This is better. The problem is, after this whole nightmare, most people don't remember what computing is. They really don't remember. when I was a kid, going to high school in the late 70s, learning computers meant learning the anything machine, right? A computer is a modeling machine. You can model anything. You guys know this. You can model a typewriter and call it a word processor. You can model a spreadsheet and call it a spreadsheet. You can model anything. When I learned computers, we learned basic, extensive, Fortran, Pascal. I mean, I failed, but still. The object was, the part that where I got stuck was in Fortran. I was supposed to write a program that would get 3 elevators. Did you guys all do this one where you have to get 3 elevators to go to the right floors? It didn't work. It just didn't work. But I knew, and this is the important thing, it doesn't matter whether you can do it or not. The important thing is that you could do it if you wanted to. The important thing is that you could pick a lock if you had that thing and worked with it a while. People don't know that. Kids in school now in computer class, what are they taught? They're taught Microsoft Office. They're taught how to use software, not how to work computers. There's a big difference. And the kids that think they are learning computers, cool. I mean, the kids that think they are learning computers, they're learning markup languages, and they think that that's code, There's like Commodore 64. Remember when you had to do you guys remember WordStar and things like that? That's markup language, That's not programming. It's just a bad interface is what it is. An early interface. I mean, actually, if you know the keys, it's faster than grabbing and dragging and all that crap. The most important thing about computers was how it changed our perspective on the greater reality as well. We realized that the world we live in is open source, or certainly that a lot more of it is open source than we've been led to believe. I do think some of reality is fixed, for sure. There's hardware going on here. But there's a lot of stuff that's software that we've been told is hardware. And it's not hardware, it's up for discussion. It's been arbitrarily created. But by losing our ability, by losing our knowledge of what is coded, of what has been coded by human beings for specific reasons with specific agendas, we mistake code for the very building blocks of reality. And the people who retain the knowledge are outlaws. That's what you are. If you retain the knowledge, whether it's knowledge of agriculture, whether it's knowledge of energy, whether it's knowledge of psychopharmacology. What if it's knowledge of economics? Right? Economics is a closed source universe. You're not allowed to print money. Right? Local currencies are still illegal in most places. What is
Crypto,
local currency
right?
but an open source economy, which would actually work? I mean,
I try to sell stuff
don't
or
get
get
me
a
started on
job and you can
economics,
just
but if you-
make your
if you
own
wanna-
money.
If you want to buy a house,
too much
you've
power.
got to borrow like $100,000 from a bank and pay back $200,000 or $300,000. But nobody put the other $200,000 or $300,000
Schumann coin
in there.
coming
You
soon.
got to then compete with everyone else for that fixed
gonna-
quantity of money that those guys printed.
It's going to be mined by the Schumann resonance
That's a weird
itself.
thing. That's a weird thing.
Any miner has to
It's
set
another
up
story,
like
though.
a
It's like
Schumann
95%
resonance
of the
station.
cash transactions have nothing to do with us buying and selling stuff.
It'll be
It has to do
mined
with
by
speculation
the,
on the cash.
The EMF fields.
So we lost the building blocks. And a few people remember that we're the ones who put them together, like Masons even. It's an analogous
Tracy
situation.
Wu.
What I think is that we
Take
are
me to Hong
in the
Kong.
midst of or toward the
I would love to
end
go to Hong
of a
Kong.
renaissance, a true renaissance, not a revolution against a particular force. I don't like revolutions because they go in circles, right? But a renaissance, which is a recontextualization. It's where you start with a frame and go, oh, I get it. I've been looking at a picture. That's what a renaissance is. Look at the original renaissance. What were the main inventions? Perspective painting, circumnavigating the globe, calculus, and the printing press. Each one of these things were changing our relationship to dimensions. I mean, what is calculus but a way to relate x to the x squared to the x cubed? What was perspective painting but a way to experience the illusion of 3 dimensions and 2? What was circumnavigating the globe? Flat world into a round world. I think we have equivalents to those Renaissance inventions. The equivalent of perspective painting is the holograph, which now actually lets us see something in 4 dimensions rather than just 3. You can see time across.
I would say that the
Instead of being able to
equivalent to
circumnavigate the
perspective
globe, we
painting
can now
is
blow
like
up the
3D
world with the
modeling,
A-bomb.
and now video games.
Changes our dimensional understanding of it. Instead of calculus, we have chaos math and the fractal. What is a fractal? Fractional dimensionality. It's a new relationship to dimension. And instead of the printing press, of course, we have the computer and the internet, which is now no longer, each of these ones in our Renaissance are no longer about having a personal perspective on what's out there, but being able to actually generate your own point of view, to generate your own thing, to publish your own ideas. The first Renaissance moved people from readers to deconstructors. The second Renaissance, the one we're in now, turns us from deconstructors into authors, into programmers. And that's why programmers, real programmers, are the most dangerous people. It's the same 3 stages any good gamer goes through, right? You buy a game. You play the game according to the rules that it came with. Then what do? Second step, to deconstruct it. You go out online, go to the chat room, find out the cheat codes, right? Is the kid with the cheat codes, is he still playing the game or not? Of course he's playing the game. You know, by now most of the cheat codes are put out online by the people who made the games anyway. And then third, what should he do? He learns how to program and actually make his own levels of the game or improve the game or change the game.
Or hack the game
Now, not everyone wants to know how to
and
pop
beat
the
all the
hood.
kiddies online.
And that's fine. Not everyone needs to know how their car works. They can call a mechanic. But they need to know that it does work. They need to know that someone is making choices about it. I think that's the measure of how alive and conscious a person is how much they know is arbitrary and how autonomous they are, how conscious they can be about the choices they make. So the ultimate story that we're all dealing with now, I mean, is the religious story, right? The good old Christian story. You know, God created this earth, we're going to get in all this trouble, and then he's going to come at the end and save it. Right? It's a scary moment, though, what science has brought us to and what media has brought us to, is that we know now, because of emergent technologies and emergent science and chaos math, we know that we probably weren't created, right? Most of us already believe in evolution, which I know is a big step for a lot, but still, evolution probably happens. Right now, the myth that we were put here, the myth that there is a pre-existing story, is very reassuring, especially when things get rough, right? The myth that Microsoft was always here, you know, that Bill Gates invented BASIC, which you find in kids' school reports all the time. The myth that there is an original code is a dangerous one. It's no more dangerous than the capitalist myth, right? That, you know, the capitalist myth has a god in it. The god is called the auctioneer, who makes sure that all the transactions work out, that everything will work out just fine. The myths are all reassuring, but as hackers, you should know the dark, dark truth. And really, it's probably true. We are fungus on a rock, hurling through cold and meaningless space. And we've gotten more developed, but that's the truth, right? And that's the thing that everybody's afraid to talk about these days. That's why we've got to have meaning and all. But just because we're fungus on a rock hurling through cold and meaningless space doesn't mean we can't make meaning, right? Life emerged naturally. It emerged. Meaning can emerge from life the same way. All I mean to say is we are in charge here. I feel a lot like Captain Kirk in one of those episodes where they see these little, you know, natives living on their planet, and they've got a computer sitting in a cave that was left by aliens long ago, and they don't know that they're just following these codes. You know, the Renaissance is a window of opportunity to say, oh, I get it. It's this moment, and I think we're still in that moment culturally. The question is, as the programmers, which is what you are, it's you and a few guys in Bangalore are the only ones who know how this stuff works. Because no one in this country values how it actually works, oddly enough. They ship it out in a few H-1B visas and other countries. What you can do, and what I like about hackers the most, is that you can take actions that momentarily break the veneer. Right? You can take
Your purchase could be free when you Credit Karma
choices that have been made on your behalf are arbitrary. You know, we are not living in a world for which the story is already written. We are living in a world where we can still hack our way in to the knobs of creation and to the creation of the story. You know, we are, or better, you are the programmers who understand that all of the stories and scenarios we use to understand this world are models. Right? They are models. None of them is actually true. Any scientist will tell you, all we have are models to work with. The important thing to remember is not which model is best, but that they are models. That is the secret, that is the dark secret that gets lost when Renaissance moments are over. But the models can be changed. The models can be shifted. The models can be altered because they are just models. They are open to our intervention. And the only reason I came here today, and the main reason why I worship at the altar of the hacker, is because they can intervene. They have the power to intervene. And all I implore you, please, is intervene. Intervene, because your intervention is the last gasp, the only gasp of autonomy left in the human species right now. So good luck to you. Am I allowed? I got a couple of minutes for thoughts, comments. Yeah.
Hello? Okay. Yeah, my question is in regard to this kind of overarching kind of historical thing. I'd like to hear your perspective on, you're sort of saying that it was corporations and government, which is people, and now we're moving to a situation where we understand that there's models and how important that is. Now, what I'm interested in is the models that we're starting to have to realize can be changed. Are they models set up by...
What's up, guys? How we doing today?
Or are we looking at a future where we're having to...
This is Hot Club over here
basically be fighting against the machines?
with Angel Code and Schumann Bot.
Yeah.
Appreciate everybody for tuning into the stream.
About it.
We got some new content coming
in a
soon.
sense, a person who
Hope you guys been enjoying the graphs. Hope you guys been living good.
Is real is no different
Hope the
from a
weather's
machine,
nice.
right? I've gone into corporations and
How's the
talked
chat
to these
doing?
people. They think that a corporation is a real thing. They don't understand that a corporation is a bunch of bylaws, right? A corporation is a program. They don't understand that. They think it's real. They think their 401k plan is as real as salvation was real to a Christian in the earlier part of the century. So, I mean, there's this great, I hate to get biblical, but I've been writing this Jewish book, so I'm like totally in Torah shit now. But there's this great moment in Exodus where God says, I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart. Pharaoh's the bad guy who's keeping the Jews prisoner, making all the pyramids and stuff. And all the rabbis for like hundreds, thousands of years have gone, what did God mean, harden his heart? He took his free will away from him, is what God's saying. I'm going to take his free will away. And it's not that God took his free will away, because God doesn't really exist. I don't even think God exists in Torah. What happened was Pharaoh, by using these repetitively evil patterns, ended up taking his own free will away and ended up responding like an automaton. But more specifically to answer your question, yeah, I think there is a difference. I think until the 1970s, most of the technologies used for coercion were human-run. It was very like Dale Carnegie, How to Make Friends and Influence People. Oh, look, I can see her. People. She's got a, I see people are getting like the light in their eyes from this thing. Here, sorry. Banner ad blocking too, right? The difference is, all right, so in the old days, telemarketers would call up, they'd find out what worked on people and what didn't, and they would slowly change their methods over time. These days, telemarketer has a computer program, and they have a database, and you're in that database, and exactly when you hung up the phone in the branched hierarchy of their decision-making tree is recorded. They know where you hung up. They want me to be done. I know. But they took a long time with the lock picking. I'm just going to go like 3 minutes over. It's only 1:58 anyway. They know where you made your wrong decision last time, or where you hung up last time, and they're going to take the other branch this time. I mean, we are now essentially taking the best things we know, the most devious things we know about neurolinguistic programming, about hypnosis, about captology, which is how to keep people moving in the direction you want them to move, and rather than using them as humans on each other and testing them out, we are teaching our machines to do those things and then to modify their own programming and behaviors based on their success rates, both on a mass level and on an individual level. And the question is whether the machines can evolve faster than we can develop defense mechanisms against it. That's right. Kids can develop Generation X. Kids can develop the ability to use a remote control. Kids can develop ways to recontextualize media so that commercials don't have the same effect on them. It's a little bit trickier to respond as rapidly as a machine can to our neural defense mechanisms. It's going to be an interesting thing, but I think what's going to have to happen is that's why instead of talking about, like I used to, about specific ways to resist media control and to resist programming, I think it's more important to maintain basic consciousness. You know, I think we have to take a step back. Otherwise, we end up in an arms race. We develop a defense mechanism, they develop a new attack, we develop a defense mechanism, and they're faster because they've got more money and more time and more machines and more stuff. So instead, we just go, okay, I get it. There's a war going on. Whenever I turn on the TV, someone's trying to fuck with me. You know, and all I can do is try to make my life better in a real way. I mean, the greatest weapon, and I got in trouble for doing. I almost got pulled from a documentary I was narrating because I talked about this. The best weapon against them, and this gets into Genesis P. Origin, industrial, and all that, is, as it was suggested when I started, is sex. Sex is really, that's since the beginning. They disconnect you from your sex, and that's what disconnects you from your power. All of the other manipulation that's going on is a subset of that in one way or another. It really is. From religion to technology. It's as simple as if you're a 16-year-old kid sitting on a couch watching a Blue Jeans commercial that's trying to intimidate you. Let's say it's Diesel or someone really intimidating. If you've got a girl next to you who you are screwing, that commercial isn't going to work on you the same way as it will if you don't have a girl next to you who you're screwing. Right? Because if you're already getting laid, you don't need them anymore. You know, so that's... Okay, one more and then we go.
Check.
Just to revolt.
Oh god, it's echoing. So, oh wait. No.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, if you're a 16-year-old girl
Yeah.
sitting on the couch,
Yo.
you're a 16-year-old guy,
What's up?
and you watch a commercial for
How's
Diesel
it going?
jeans, and
It's going.
what?
How you been?
Or another 16-year-old girl. Yeah.
Pretty good. Just been working on some
Usually
stuff
if
for
you've
Angel
gotten to
Code.
the point by the time
Very
you're
nice.
16 where
Mhm.
you are willing to have sex with someone of the same sex.
Got some
you're gonna
shirts
have a lot
coming
harder time
soon.
getting you as it
First
is, 'cause you've
run.
already demonstrated your
Just
autonomy,
recently
right?
got a studio
Yeah,
space.
it's not just sex. It's
um,
anything. If you are engaged
set up
in
a little
meaningful
screen
way
printing
in real life
workshop,
in something that
trying to get some
actually
designs
feeds you
out there.
socially with
Eventually
other
branch
people,
out.
then you don't
Start
you no
working
longer
on
need the
the Schumann
mediator.
bot
Whether
X
it's
Angel
the
Code
marketer
collaborative merch.
or the person making media
Oh, that's pretty
to
sweet.
facilitate
Mhm.
Yeah,
that
I have a few
social
ideas, dude.
relationship.
I had a
The
sick
fact is,
idea where like
people are social
it was gonna be
naturally.
kind of.
What the internet does is not facilitate social interaction.
It's like a
It
pyramid,
helps us
but
puncture through
you
the
only see
obstacles to
like
social
the
interaction.
outline. You
The
know, it's
internet
like
is
hollow.
remedial help
Mhm.
in a
And then, like,
society that's lost the
inside would
ability
be,
to
like,
communicate with each other.
an
Not just
angel or
sexually, but
something.
talking, hanging
That'd be
out.
fire.
And then
I
on
like
the
that.
top,
It's not an end.
it would be like Hermeticus,
It's like
but it would
braces
be
or
in
training wheels or
hieroglyphics.
medicine or
Mhm.
And
LSD.
then it would say like
Yeah.
Angel Code under the pyramid.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a few ideas. I gotta design them.
Yeah, I gotta get back in the
This video's
workshop.
over, so are you streaming your desktop?
Yeah.
Let's check it. How do I hide my servers? I don't want people to see my servers. Let's go full screen. Oh, sweet. I've seen that design. Yeah, you have that on a sweatshirt, right?
Yeah, I
T-shirt
just
as
started
well
printing
now.
them on black and white shirts. This like monument structure is like a local skate spot that me and my friends grew up and met each other at. Trying to branch out of the locality and start getting into a little bit more universal concepts and start getting like actual images and messages across. This is like a sample of one that I might run. Actually, where's the updated version?
I love that one. I've seen that one on your phone.
Yeah, there's like more of a better representation of it, but like mind, body, temple.
Sweet.
I mean, we got like a little nice temple going on. It's like the halo, and like a matrix prison, because I mean, a lot of people believe that we live like in a simulation, and that a lot of people also feel that their bodies are prisons, but kind of a temple. Hence the whole mind, body, temple border. But it needs some adjustments before I start getting into printing with that.
No, that's sick, dude. I love that.
Looking forward to it. Want to get.
And you're doing CMYK on that print?
Yeah, I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'm gonna do first two shirts I'm gonna drop. It's gonna be like single color, and then I want to get into multicolor, where there's not so much of a gradient and it's kind of solid color. But then after that, when I figure that out, I'm gonna get into CMYK, which would be something similar to like this.
Nice.
But yeah, working on some stuff, like some ASCII art stuff I want to do too. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on with me.
Sweet.
Did we let them know about the documentary?
We can leak a little info, yeah.
For those of you who don't know, once again, Hot Club with Angel Code. Angel Code is a bit of like a streetwear skateboarding brand, wellness platform. Trying to get a website off the ground soon. I'll be dropping some local skate videos as well as documentaries and interviews of local artists and free thinkers, I guess you can say in short. Schumann Bot being one of them himself. But part of screen printing. Thrice greatest. I'm sorry. A part of aside from screen printing, I'm also like a filmmaker, and I'm working currently now with Thrice Greatest on a Schumann Resonance documentary where we're going to go take a look at a couple of professors up at the University of Rhode Island where they have their own Schumann Resonance lab. So we're very excited about that. Don't want to give away too many details, but we'll start letting the followers know more as that comes out.
Yeah, dude, that's gonna be awesome. I can't wait for that. I'll probably be working on the website, right?
For Angel Code?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Can I stream that? Do you mind?
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
Sweet. So I was gonna stream me working on Hermeticus.net, updating the Schumann web page and stuff. So it'd be sick to stream that too.
Yeah, I'm glad we're crossing over these two realms into one another.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Very excited for the documentary. I'm hoping to shed light on a lot of answers that people like to leave in the Twitter comments on the graph, on like the 2-hour graph posts, more so into kind of like the history behind everything of when Human Resonance kind of came into light for everybody leading up to current modern times, and mostly so the Twitter following that has kind of developed from Schumann Bot account. I feel like that's shined a big spotlight on the resonances themselves and is starting to grow in like a pretty big community, which is really sick to see. Been seeing it since the birth of it. Long time coming.
Yeah, dude. The Google trend is crazy. You can like if you look at the Google trend, you see like 2017, it's like kind of flat, and then Schumann Bot kicks off, and then all of a sudden like it's in a bull market kind of. You know, it's just like a huge uptrend.
I was there day one.
Day one. All right, guys, it's been a couple hours. I think we're gonna hop into the war zone. Again, we had good friend Hot Club here from Angel Code on the stream. I'll tweet out the link and stuff. Go check it out. The website will be out soon. Tweet out the link.
Thanks for having me.
You know it, dude.